Morning, good afternoon, or as the case may be, good evening, and welcome to Distribution Strategy Group's Advancing Distributor E-commerce in 2024 and beyond. We've got a very exciting discussion today led by panelists who are doing compelling things with e-commerce. I wanted to talk a little bit about this panel before we get into it and also before we introduce our sponsors. So e-commerce as a category of technology is not new. It is pretty well in the mature stage. A number of companies have deployed it. We track that each year in our state of distribution e-commerce. However, there is significant innovation within the category, within the platforms for e-commerce, for product information management, for related systems. And with the advent of AI and other advanced technologies, we're expecting to see a number of innovations over the next 5 or 6 years, essentially between now and the end of the decade. So that's in large part what we're going to be discussing today. We've got to do a little bit of business first. So I wanted to tell you about Demand RX from Distribution Strategy Group. This is the proprietary demand analytics offering that estimates the account potential of customers and relevant prospects in total and by product category. This enables you to make strategic and tactical decisions about what you're going to sell and to whom you will sell it. Once you understand the potential in an account, your sales and marketing functions are much more efficient and effective because they can focus on the right products for customers and prospects. Demand RX, which is the product from Distribution Strategy Group, provides a means to grow wallet share, to define your ideal customer profile, to target the right prospects from our database of 48 million companies in North America, and to measure market share. And now Demand RX is integrated with leading e-commerce systems. Wanted to let you also know about our workshop at the AI conference in June in Chicago. We actually are hosting a workshop before the Applied AI conference that everyone should know about. It's the AI Advantage in Sales workshop with techniques you can use today. This is an in-person workshop that's going to be held at the Marriott Chicago O'Hare on June 4th. In sales today, the risk takers, innovators, and forward thinkers will win. And this workshop will change the way you think about sales. With AI expert Paul Bayer leading the event, this isn't just another seminar, it's your path to sales excellence. This hands-on workshop is for sales professionals ready to understand the future, drive earnings growth, and ramp up their personal productivity. Don't miss this unique opportunity. Achieve a 10 to 20% productivity increase, translating directly into enhanced earnings. Scan the QR code here or go to distributionstrategy.com/GenAI-for-distribution-sales. And our sponsor for today's panel is EvolutionX, and they have a B2B e-commerce solution built specifically for distributors and manufacturers. We get it. Sometimes projects like modernizing your website move to the back burner. But consider this, 90% of B2B buyers say they turn to a competitor if their supplier's digital channel couldn't keep up with their needs. In other words, if you're not delivering the online experience your customers expect, you're at risk of losing them to your competitors who do. Enter ECI's EvolutionX, the only e-commerce platform that offers distributors a complete solution through the 4 C's. The first C is commerce, through our massively scalable platform with B2B functionality that you and your customers need. Content, with access to millions of SKUs of rich product content across multiple distributor industries. Connectivity, through deep real-time integration with your ERP to allow for live inventory, invoice payments, and more. Communication with our in-house custom website design team and personalized online tools. Convenience is the new loyalty, and we're here to guide you along your e-commerce journey. we built free. We built a free e-commerce guidebook just for you. Download it at ecisolutions.com/DSG. That's ecisolutions.com/DSG. Okay, and now I'd like to welcome our panelists. Mike Powers from ARG and Industrial, Klaus Werner from Agility Group, and Jared Anderson from Walker's Office Supplies. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, Jonathan, great to be here. Hey, Klaus, Jared, excited to have a discussion with you guys today.
So maybe before we get into the meat of the panel, if each of you could take a minute and talk about the kinds of work you've done in e-commerce, perhaps across different industries, starting with you, Mike.
Great, Jonathan. Be happy to. My name is Mike Powers, head of digital and e-com for ARG Industrial. We are a hose and fitting as well as rigging and lifting manufacturer and distributor in Alaska and the Pacific Northwest. Jonathan, most recently, we about 3 years ago launched our first ever B2B e-commerce platform with PIM, shopping cart, punch out functionality, and really excited to take the next step in our digital transformation with launching a hose assembly configurator on our website. But prior to ARG, I was actually in the Jared, I didn't get to mention it, but I was in the Jansan and office supply space with a 115-year-old family-run distributor called Hill & Marks, where we were able to achieve roughly 30% of our total revenue through our shopping cart, working with higher ed, hospitals, and we were based out of upstate New York.
Terrific. I know you've got a long background. Jared.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, Jared Anderson, President, co-owner, Walker's Office Supplies. We are located in Rocklin, California, Reno, Nevada, and San Luis Obispo, California. Started as a traditional office supply company by my great-grandfather in 1959 and transitioned through box stores, commercial outside sales, e-commerce now. Getting into vertical markets like janitorial supplies has been huge for us. We recently converted a e-commerce platform into actually Evolution X, and that has been very successful for us. It's been a wonderful journey and it just fun to be a part of, mostly. Excited about it again, happy to be proud of our website, and that keeps us passionate about it. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Happy to be proud of our website. That's where we should all be.
Yes.
Klaus.
Yes, hello, and thank you for having me. And as a means of background, I've been doing e-commerce for over 20 years. Industrial B2B for about 10. I spent some time at a company called Alex Lee that has a retail and wholesale arm for grocery. I've also worked at HT Supply as Chief Digital Officer, and they focus on MRO and B2B distribution and hospitality, healthcare, and multifamily. And then I spent over 3 years as Chief Marketing Officer and Head of e-commerce at Global Industrial, which again, is a B2B distributor with a big emphasis on e-commerce and digital.
They do a ton of e-commerce, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very significant channel. So before we get into the questions for the panel, I should mention there's a Q&A button, question and answer button down at the bottom. We love questions. We'll when we see the question, we'll determine whether to answer it in the moment or perhaps defer it to a later time. But don't hesitate to weigh in. So I think our first question is really looking at what's happening with product data. There's an idea about where product data is going that says we're going to have wider records for SKUs, way more attributes, probably more rich content, or rich content, as well as distributors will be expected to have product data on a deeper set of SKUs than they currently do. A lot of times when you go to a distributor website, you'll see your product data on the A's, maybe the B's, and then you get to the C's and it says image not available. I think we all what that one looks like. So, Klaus, if you could maybe just lead off the discussion on what you're seeing from the evolution of product data, what we're going to need to manage, how we're going to manage it, how it's going to affect the user. Yeah.
Absolutely. Product data has been a challenge for me and all of my peers for my entire career, right? It's always been something that is very difficult to get, to be able to be consistent, etc. I do have a philosophy that less is more in some cases. I think sometimes we try to collect way too much data that is not really important for the customer to make a purchase decision.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you need to have the data that the customer needs for every persona to make that purchase decision. So my philosophy on product data is first and foremost is holding the manufacturer accountable. Because right now I believe that we don't all do that. And they are the source of the data. They have all of that information. So that's number one. Number two is you need to really either hire a big team or bring in an offshore partner or such to help you collect the data that you don't get from the manufacturer, or in the case of private label, product data that you own that you need to basically publish. And then number three, see if you can leverage AI, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this data is a commodity. It is the same whether you're buying the product for distributor A or B. So maybe AI can also help bring some consistency across the board and democratize this data collection process.
Can you say more about democratizing the data collection process?
No, absolutely. At the end of the day, like I said, this is not going to be a competitive advantage. The length, size, width, and weight of a product is not how you're going to differentiate yourself. It's a commodity from my perspective, right? So being able to just democratize that data collection process so that everybody has access to that data, and then push the distributor to differentiate themselves in a variety of other ways, right? Differentiate yourself in execution, differentiate yourself in value, differentiate yourself in service. But that data is consistent, and that's not what's going to differentiate you as a distributor.
Beautiful. Jared, take us through what you're seeing at Walker and where it's going in terms of more, better, bigger, or not.
Yeah, it was kind of refreshing to hear you say that, Klaus, that more is not always better. We've kind of got, I don't know, the whole content thing can go a couple different ways. And for us, we got this new website and we thought we should throw everything at it. And we quickly felt a little bit uncomfortable with it. There was a bit, every industry's got their content issues, and then where we're pulling content from, whether it be manufacturer or wholesalers or, all those things. So we got to the point where we decided that it was probably better to go deeper rather than wide to start and get the really good content on the products that are in our warehouse, controlling the first in search. That was going to generate more profit for us immediately rather than trying to sell welding rods that we've never had an order or request for in our life. Maybe that we could generate a better content on what we're already doing and then worry about getting wider later, which we want to. But as far as where we're pulling that content, most of it is provided for us in our channel. I think actually does a pretty good job of generating a lot of content. But then what you do with that content, if we want to sell a mesh back chair, there's certain ways that I want that search and that content to appear in search results. And that's been a huge focus for us, is building those redirects and pushing the right content to the top.
Okay, so you're really taking that A's and B's. Let's really make sure that data is enriched, because that's where we're seeing our revenue right now.
Yep.
Okay. Now, ECI also works pretty closely with a company called Distributor Data Systems. Are any of you familiar with DDS?
No.
Okay. What Distributor Data Systems does is very interesting. They are actually a software that sits between the manufacturer PIM and the distributor PIM. And you can think of it as a middleware function, because it's if you've got, M manufacturers and N distributors, that DDS thing is effectively the clearinghouse, which creates hopefully better quality, better timeliness, et cetera. So
they're just an unbiased middleman holding content.
exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so what that means is, Mike, maybe somewhat closer to your industry, if you look like at a Parker Hannifin, you think, well, Parker Hannifin is just one company. Well, Parker Hannifin is actually 75 divisions. And they all have different data formats, and it's not this, but so something like a DDS is going to sit in the middle between them and the distributor PIM. So.
Yeah, Jonathan, to your point on that, that is an initiative that we're doing right now, where there's been, so we're also ARG Industrial is part of a co-op called IGCO, and along with our own digital transformation or launching of a B2B e-commerce, about 3 years ago, we also realized that during this journey, it's going to be imperative for us to get that product data from our core manufacturers. And, instead of just having us ask for it, we wanted to make sure that the other members in our co-op would benefit from it. And so that is something where we've stood up an industry or a co-op PIM, allowing our manufacturers such as Danfoss, Continental, and some other of the fittings folks to supply their data. And the great thing is the manufacturer has the lever to approve which distributor is using which data. But that goes back to, Klaus, what you had mentioned. I mean, in our industry, the product data, the attributes, we're just getting started on getting it normalized. In the hose and fittings industry, there's an acronym that is called STAMPed: size, temperature, application, material, pressure, ends in delivery. And one of the things that I think has been an impediment or has caused the lack of adoption is a lot of the product data in our industry has not been published or put onto distributors' websites where those attributes can be filtered, so the end user or the buyer is able to filter based on some of those applications or that acronym. So again, Jonathan, we're just getting started, but attributes in our industry, especially also in the rigging and lifting industry, where it's about the weights, is very important.
It makes a ton of sense, and I would think that with all respect, your industry has been a little slower to adopt e-commerce than, say, where you came from. Is that a fair statement?
100%. One of the things that I forget whether it was last year, it's been even now the Steph Curry analogy that you guys have come up. It's really has been the assist to the ARG industrial sale. But the funny thing, Jonathan, is what's happening at our front counters in our 13 branches is the broken hose business. Somebody walks in, they can't do that digitally. So they're like, hey, can you help me? I need this replaced. And so that has been kind of the deterrent of our B2B buyers being able to get on the website and find the need, right? And be able to check out through the shopping cart. But that's something that we're addressing now and through our configurator.
Terrific. So we're gonna go right into that. So let me cue this up. There's an idea that we've discussed over the years about the distributor relative product model, which really looks at the complexity of the transaction involved for a given product. And the complexity is along two dimensions. One, what is the logistic complexity? So, are you shipping something that can be delivered by FedEx, common carrier? Are you delivering something that has to be on a flatbed truck? There are different logistics complexities. And then the other complexity is, what is the value add from the distributor in terms, it could be value added services, it could be like the crimping stuff you guys do around hose. So this is a long-winded wind-up into a question, I promise you. Right now, e-commerce is more or less limited to relatively simple transactions along that logistic value add front. Talk to us about the role of configurators and how that will allow more complex transactions to happen through e-commerce? Starting with you, Mike.
Yeah, so even 3 years ago when we launched our e-commerce website, we realized pretty quickly by looking at the orders coming through the website that a hose was selecting fitting 1, fitting 2, and in the order details was a 2 or 3 sentences saying, I need an assembly that is 65 feet and please have it ready in 2 weeks. So we started seeing orders coming through the shopping cart, realizing that the configuration was happening on our website just without the assembly configurator built in. So about 1.5 years ago, we actually partnered with 2 other companies and we developed a software, or what I'd like to call, Jonathan, on the back end, a rules engine, where we dropped all of the hoses in fitting 1s and fitting 2s, all the different product data into this rules engine that, based off simple questions such as working pressure or application, some of the items I listed in the acronym STAMPed, that it would automatically eliminate the choices that the customer didn't need and focused in on the product that would meet the need of the application. That rules engine has to digest a lot of information. And so within the last 45 days, we actually turned on the configurator for our customers, and it has worked fantastic. But it really is based around the rules and the product data that is ingested into the rules engine. And it has made our customers' life much, much easier.
So talk to us about what the output is. Does it actually feed into e-commerce? Does it feed into an EDI order? What's
so it fills so it'll actually come down. So this is another interesting thing. It's not just built for the B2B buyer. We're learning that folks, our employee owners that are working at the counters, are swinging their monitor out and showing the assembly configurator and going through the selection process. So what they're able to do, and we're going to be hopefully launching some videos and in April, going to be kind of blacking it out. But as they go through the steps of selecting the hose and the fittings, you get to a landing page to confirm your assembly. And you can actually turn that into a one-pager, but that is literally incorporating the size, the fitting 1, fitting 2 in the hose, and then we're passing it along into our shopping cart, right? And that shopping cart is able to then push it into DDI, where our team is able to see the components, the hose and the components, and it brings in the pricing, and we're able to just approve the assembly that has been created through the shopping cart and get that configuration out.
That's amazing. So from the customer perspective, what are the benefits to me? I mean, am I getting a more complete order, more accurate order?
Yeah. So instead of going through and either getting fumbled up in site search or having to go through a taxonomy, once you've selected a hose, now I have to go through the normal taxonomy and the attribute search for those filters for the fittings. We basically brought all of those potential combinations into one place where that customer can go based off their need, create the assembly. Then they also have, to Klaus's point, where do I want to test and certify that assembly? Do I need to add accessories or nylon wrap? What else do I need to put with this assembly so that I can ensure that it's the right assembly for our business? And then do I need to add customer part numbers to it? It passes all of that information. And then if I need to actually send that to another buyer within my organization for approval, I can email, or I can actually download as a PDF and save or reorder through the website. So it's bringing in everything that is happening at our front counter with 2 or 3 clicks. But at the end of the day, on the back end, our engineers are still able to verify and also make sure that those customers know that they're selecting the right assembly for their application.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
We're super excited about it.
Yeah. Well, it'll be curious to see how you drive adoption on this.
Yes.
Right. It might be a smaller percentage of your customers, but they're very high value customers. They're doing bigger orders, et cetera. Klaus and Jared, I'm curious, have you seen anything similar in the areas where you've worked where configuration or
Yeah,
assembly is relevant?
very much so. That's super exciting. But we see it in the on the furniture side. With is you get a chair that you can get full fabric, leather, mesh. Okay, well, what seat do you want on it? What headrest? What arms? What mechanism underneath do you want? Do you want hard casters, soft casters? And a lot of the manufacturers have the tools on their site for their specific products. Same thing with a furniture. As far as a desk, a left-handed return, right-handed return, what color finish do you want on the top, what edge finish? If we could incorporate some of that stuff, because right now we have to add typicals, and then we go in and we have 15 unique SKUs to that typical that we've loaded on our front end as a typical. It's hard to show it in color. It's hard to get all those attributes you talked about with that SKU. So I've been quietly waiting to just get some other low-hanging fruit done. But I mean, that's going, like I said, going deep on what you do and differentiating yourself and adding a ton of value. And that buyer that's in between your B2B or your front counter guy, that's going to convert them over. It's also letting your salespeople not leave your website, going right to the same products. I mean, there's a ton of value there that other .commerce can't compete with.
So Mike spoke about the benefit to the customer. What would you see as the benefit to the distributor of having configurators?
Well, for the distributor, order accuracy, just staying within the manufacturers who have supported you and helped you pioneer this product onto your website. Probably margins and consolidating purchase orders with one manufacturer. And then just, there's nobody else in my market doing that. So I'd like to be at some point I got to get there. It's on the list. We can also do that we do a lot of printing, business cards, uniforms, things like that. If we could have something, configure that would be nice too. And then and my question was, once that comes through to the back end, is someone keying that in, or is it actually populating into that customer's account and then purchasing just goes and buys it out from there?
Yeah, so Jared, great question. So let me actually take one step back because I think this is important. So as part of this journey, we built it for ARG Industrial for the hose and fitting space as well as the rigging and lifting. But we built it in a way, actually created another company where we've made it ERP agnostic and e-commerce agnostic. So we built the system, the rules engine, the configurator that depending on what APIs you have available or ERPs, it'll be able to work with you. So in our case, Jared, we're able to basically accept the assembly with the components into our ERP. And what we're doing is because it is new, also for our people, we're giving them the ability to see the assembly in the back end of the ERP. In some cases, we can have the option where they can see it in, or it's there for the ability to checkbox input to production. So we can do both cases, but ultimately, our run up, our 30 days, we're allowing our folks to make sure that the assembly comes over, the description. We do have some branch managers that wanted the ability just to take that information and drop it in, but we are also able to drop it directly in as a component or a star part number, a new part number that is created.
Yeah. And that's the hard part, is we all want to add these items to our website, and how they hit the dock and flow through your facility is sometimes, it changes your mind on whether you want to represent that product, because all of a sudden the way these purchase orders are coming in and getting done. But man, that's
and one thing too, Jared, to your point, but also Jonathan, you said I came from the perspective of the buyer. What has been fascinating for us to see is typically, and Mike Mortensen and our VP of sales will tell you, we've only really hired folks that had hose and fitting experience, because the tribal knowledge of the Danfoss part numbers, what goes with what. I mean, those catalogs are massive. So if you're entertaining new employees, customer service, inside sales, we typically only kind of focused on folks that have been in our industry. What has happened is, because of this online hose assembly, the rules and those combinations are in the rules engine. You're just basically selecting the working pressure and the need of the customer. And so it's become a training tool for new employees in our company that haven't had that hose experience, that they're using this as almost an LMS or a training software. And so they're getting ramped up so quickly, where historically in our business, it took about a year, maybe a year and a half for somebody to be well-versed and SKUs, part numbers, Jonathan.
Well, so let's look at one other aspect. A lot of the work that I've seen in configurators has been manufacturer specific.
Yes. Yeah.
Or
engineering or CAD specific. Yeah. And
right.
Jared, to your point, we as the distributor need to go to the manufacturer website, use their tool, either print or email the output or the assembly from the manufacturer website, and email, text, or send that to the customer and say, hey, is this what you want? And that's one of the things, Jonathan, we went through this process of evaluating softwares that were out there. And we just realized that for the folks that are trying to, that broken hose business, or the folks that are coming into our branch, we needed to convey that interaction at that counter digitally onto our website without dumping tons of data. And Boss, you talked about this, right? Tons of information, attributes, 75 attributes that are being spit out onto a PDF that is more around engineering, where this is somebody that's working on an agriculture machine in Washington, has a hose and two fittings that are broken. They don't know exactly what it is, but they know maybe the working pressure or what it's used for. We can help them in that journey.
Or on a book behind the counter that's that thick to get.
That's it. And so what happened is now, it's amazing, because now even our branch manager in Fairbanks, Alaska is, they have swivels on the monitor. So they're swinging it out and the customer's looking right there, and they're doing it. They're going through the journey with them right along with them. And it just allows our guys it's a tool in their handbook or their toolbox that allows them to focus on what we really do well. It's the white glove value add services, testing, certifying, making sure that whether it's our VMI program is placing crimps and doing the things that our sales reps in our branches do very, very well. This tool is saving everybody time.
Yeah, I love the training aspect, because furniture's that way too. Like you have to, our best sales guys were installers, because they know the product. They know they can configure the whole system's furniture and not forget an end cap, top cap, or any of the electrical components. But this, to your point, it's going to be grayed out. You forgot something. You got to click it.
Okay, guys. So audience, coming soon to a theater near you, configurators. I want to shift to a next topic now, which is for a number of years, there have been tools for accepting unstructured orders via email, or I would say structured orders via email. We're now coming to a place where the technology for taking orders that are not from EDI, punch out, or eCommerce has expanded significantly in terms of the modality. So there's technologies to take orders that come through voicemail, that come through text, that are handwritten, to discover an order in an email. So in something, scanning an email discovers an order in the email, or perhaps a request for a quote. Klaus, if you could start us off with how you see this affecting e-commerce, interoperability, all of that.
Yeah, no, I love this stuff. Like, to me, this is the kind of, let me take a step back. If you really think about sales and B2B, the fastest quote wins, right? So speed means sales and revenue. So to have the ability to read an unstructured email, create a quote, and have it ready for someone to review it, or have it kind of posted into the customer's account, or whatever the right process is, it's going to put you at a competitive advantage against everybody else out there, because speed wins 100% of the time, right? So what this would do is give sales more time to sell, right? Which is what you want them to do. You don't want sales to be spending a third, a quarter of your day entering information into the ERP. You want sales people to be selling. It also improves quality. It also improves productivity. It allows you to do more with less. But the most important thing, again, to me, is the speed. Getting that quote to the customer as quickly as possible is what's going to get you the sale the fastest. Because, at the end of the day, in the B2B space, the people you're dealing with are really busy. Anything you do to make their life easier, if they send you an email and you have a quote in their inbox within 3 minutes, they're going to pick you 100% of the time, because they don't have to worry about, am I going to get these widgets in on time, and I can focus on the other 90 things that I need to do that day. So to me, this is something that is incredibly interesting to me, and I'm looking forward to see kind of how these tools evolve and become better over time. But I think that this is something, again, competitive differentiation, a way to grow your business efficiently.
Terrific. I think this quote stuff is fantastically exciting as well. Could you talk about the order automation? So we talked about the quote, now the order acceptance through these mechanisms, and how you see that affecting things.
Yeah. To me, I think the hardest thing is really getting the quote out, right? The order automation is the easier part, right? Because at that point, the customer can just get an email, a text, or whatever the right method is. They can review the order, and they can make it a one-click order, or I guess you're not allowed to do that. It has to be a two-click order. But make it a simple order, remove friction in the sales process, make it easier for your customer. So being able to integrate these AI tools into your e-com platform is what's really key for me, right? It's like, read the unstructured email, create the quote, post it on the customer's account, send him or her a text, review it, submit. That's the way I kind of see the world moving in the future. In a way, it kind of gets the salesperson out of the way. But again, you don't want to use salespeople time for the customer when they want to order more of the same, right? When they want to order consumables, you want the salesperson to focus on these more complex orders that are going to drive higher revenue, are going to drive higher customer acquisition and retention, right? So I see all of this working really, really nicely together in an ecosystem.
Jared, what are you seeing in terms of orders coming in through email and other formats?
I was hoping to avoid this one.
We can shift.
No. I just, I agree with everything Klaus said. I just, for me, it's a ways out. I think that you always have to keep one hand in, and kind of stay with this stuff as it's coming out and evolving, so that how it works and you can implement things as they come along. For us right now, I'm not anywhere near that. So I think it's interesting, but that's your question was the same as mine is, how is that going to get into my ERP? Okay, well, now my ERP, my e-commerce, and my AI all have to get along. And that's where I see the whole AI thing is, they're talking about the buyer's going to have their unique AI. We've all had customer service softwares that we've been trying to collect the data as a company on my users, and they're going to bring their unique AI to me. I've got to be able to recognize that AI. I don't know. I'm out of my skis on this one a little bit, just because I have more questions than answers. So I'm very curious, and I think it's going to be, massive, but we got to stay engaged.
Mike, let me ask you a refined version of the question. So again, the technology up until recently has been, you can take a set of you can map a set of orders. So you can take the top 5% of your customer base who's not on EDI or punch out, and you're going to map their orders, and then that will flow into your ERP when somebody sends an email order and that format fits. Now you can go into a much deeper portion of your customer base. It's not just large customers, it's pretty much anybody who's sending anything via any format. So with that refined version of the question.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and we are full transparency, Jared. We were where you were about a year and a half ago. Okay. And so what ended up happening was, Jonathan, when we went to Applied AI, we came back with a ton of use cases that the AI and some of the tools and the vendors that were there that identified areas in our business that we could save massive time and allow our salespeople to go out and sell and allow our people to focus on getting the job done. Right. And so, believe me, after Applied AI conference, we actually formed a technology committee to kind of vet these use cases. So, Jonathan, two areas that I want to talk about is after the conference, we realized in the shipping and receiving part of our business that we have multiple people at our branches that are hitting keystrokes that we could probably completely eliminate and allow them to do what they need to do in the business and set up automations that read emails, actually recognize POs from the manufacturers, send them back. All of the complexity of it, what's happening in the shipping and receiving business. That is a use case that we're working with Rivalgo and AJ on right now, and hopefully that'll be able to help us there. And then the same on the sales automation process. You know, text messages, handwritten notes on notepads. When we started hearing about the tools that allow, so think about this, Jonathan. There is sales reps in Alaska that have one or two customers 8 to 12 hours away from them. One customer. Right. And so the fact of the matter is, whether it's emails or texts or, other punch out EDI, if there's areas of the business that we can set up automation through some of these tools that allows our people to save time and money and service the customer really quickly, those are all things that we've recognized in the sales automation process, as well as the shipping and receiving process through some of these tools that actually, Jonathan, you and the team at Applied AI have actually presented to distributors like us.
Terrific. Mike, thank you for the plug for the AI conference. It was it's as good a plug as we could have. I'll mention just again right now, we got our second Applied AI for Distribution conference, June 4th through 6th in Chicago. So love
Sounds
to.
like I should go.
Oh, it's terrific. I mean, it's really a great group of distributors that come, as well as
so is this a unique software that that AI is a software you've implemented and taught your programs or your repeatable
there will be 30 companies that have AI in their software serving distributors in one way or another. So as well as leading thought leaders who will be presenting. So
listen, there was a group of us, our CEO, there was a large group of us. And Jonathan, I think there was, 8 to 10 of us, I think. Yep. We had a large group there. It caused us, Jared, at the conclusion in the lobby of the Marriott at Chicago to sit down as a group and realize, wow, one, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of things in there. There's a lot of things around AI, but also it allowed us to realize, wow, there's a lot of things that we have really smart, talented people that are doing jobs that some of these tools can eliminate and allow them to focus on what they really, whether it's fabrication, whether it's VMI or working with the customer. Let's get them having to spend all day Monday, Tuesday getting orders into our ERP. Let's find these use cases. And for us, it actually said, okay, we know that this AI and some of these tools are not going to go away. We need to form a technology committee in our company that meets once a quarter and says, okay, here's our existing kind of technology roadmap. Here's the vendors, the ERP, the e-commerce system, maybe some of these AI tools that I mentioned. Are they working for us? Are we using them in the right parts of the business? And then we're getting bombarded with other vendors that are interested in working with us. Well, guess what? Let's add that to kind of a pipeline and figure out areas in the business that potentially could help for us. So it's more of a controlled system now or workflow, but it's not going to go away, Jonathan. I think it's only going to continue to ramp up.
So perfect segue here into, I want to talk about where chatbots, Gen AI plays in with e-commerce. Let me just set the table here briefly. So I think we've all been astounded by the power of the Chat GPTs, Bard, Genesis, whichever Gen AI tool you're using. It's just absolutely astounding. And one of the things we've talked about is there are a number of use cases in e-commerce that are very straightforward. So reordering a part that I bought previously, that's an easy thing to do. I mean, sometimes there's a reorder form section of the site, right? Ordering a SKU from a category that I bought from before is also pretty easy, right? I want to buy another abrasive, I go into the abrasive section, perhaps I'm using some type of attribute filtering. But there are a couple of things that are that until recently have really required a human. First of all, what product category do I need? Right? That's a question. Second of all, what does the solution look like? That pretty much required either a CSR or a rep. So as we look out over the next couple, 3 years, where do we see this intelligent bot interacting with e-commerce? Klaus, could you lead us off, please?
And is this are you thinking about this more in terms of sales and customer service, or more from a merchandising type? How are we going to merchandise differently in the future?
I'm not thinking. Yeah, I guess I'm thinking customer service, not tech support. I'm thinking sales and customer service. So somebody is in the shopping phase of the journey, right? Mm-hmm. What is it going to look like with chatbots? How does that play with e-commerce?
I think that as you start leveraging AI and having these chatbots, they're going to do a couple things. One of them, they're going to really reduce your cost to serve, right? Because in some cases, a machine is going to do what a human does today. You're going to get a lot more consistency and improved quality in the responses. It's also going to drive a lot more self-service, hopefully drive some more sales, but you have to give the customer, especially at the beginning, an easy-to-use escape hatch, right? You want the customer to be able to get out from that experience when they truly need to interface with a human. There's nothing more frustrating for a customer to be pushed down this automated system when they really need to speak to a human being to be able to kind of get with it, whatever they need. But I see these getting better over time, and I see us, we could at some point live in a world where 90% of our questions are going to be answered by a bot and not by a human, right? But between now and then, the escape hatch will become increasingly important. But I think that these are crucial ingredients in ensuring that you need to have in your portfolio of services so that you become competitive and continue to grow your business.
So when you say escape hatch, you mean the system either recognizes that it can't give the customer what it needs, or the customer feels like, I need to talk to a person.
Get me out of here.
Yeah.
Let me speak to a human type thing. Yes.
Okay. Mike.
Yeah. So Jonathan, this is actually this chatbot / virtual agent is something, another piece of software that we had learned about or we're developing use case around. So it's very interesting to me what we're kind of seeing, right? So I think there's a lot of B2B buyers that have been historically frustrated with site search and in some cases taxonomies, right? Like having to drill down. So one of the things that we are looking at is the ability to have a virtual agent that is able to, if somebody's asking, what's the working pressure of an H280 hose? they want the answer. That virtual bot needs to be able to read the specifications and the specs of that hose and bring it back to that customer in the virtual bot. Pay my open invoices, the ability to transact or pay. This is truly like a buying assistant that we're seeing. And then in some cases, Jonathan, I don't know if it is going to be the case, but I would not be surprised that the ability for a customer to check out through a virtual agent instead of the shopping cart, based off them being verified, is something that I could see happening, because in some cases we're seeing a use case of somebody that is not interested in using site search or the attribute filters on the left-hand side or taxonomy. They get there, if we're responding back with the right information, they want to continue the dialogue. But to Klaus's point, I want to talk to somebody at the Fairbanks branch, or pricing and availability, whatever it may be, giving them that out. But in some cases, I feel like the software and technology might get really good with these virtual bots. I mean, listen, I used an American Airlines chatbot to change a flight, and it was super easy for me. And I'll probably use that again instead of waiting the hour and a half to talk to an agent. We're starting to see some of that chat history or message questions happening on our site.
Yeah. So can you imagine a scenario where the output of that is something that populates a shopping cart, even if it's all behind the scenes?
Yeah. And listen, Jonathan, we've actually had some conversations about, and we're a Microsoft house, where would we be able to take the virtual agent, is there a way for us to integrate deeper with the customers? So when you think of punch-out catalogs, right, integrating with a Coupa, an Oracle Business Network, getting our catalogs and putting it on their system, in the use case that we're working with Dialogue on is maybe the ability, and we're in the infancy stages. We just don't know. What happens if we were able to have our virtual assistant in our customers' Microsoft Teams environment, where if they had questions about hose or product details, they could go to that same virtual assistant. So I think the sky's the limit, Jonathan. I think we're just beginning. We're identifying use cases, but it's been really interesting and fun to see how some of this stuff could potentially roll out.
Maybe the sky's the beginning.
Yeah.
Jared, thoughts on where we're going with agents?
Yeah, my 2 cents on that would be that sometimes I like to keep it old school, and for years you can have an automated attendant answer your phone and push this for sales or this for service, and I've chosen not to do that. I want to keep a human element. I think these chat bots are good to a point, but to Klaus's point, when you call the credit card company and push 0 to talk and you don't get anyone, I think that you had a good experience with American Airlines. I went on UPS as preparing for this, and my guy, we were looking at, and it was not user friendly. So I would love to implement something like that, but I won't do it. I don't want my customers to pay the price. I mean, we kind of have a reputation to uphold, and sure, when I see something just like that AI, if I can get some things done out there, I'm all for all this stuff. But sometimes those things where, you go look at a car, I buy, delivery trucks, and I can't even shop without that thing popping up in front of me. So
I think, John, to your point, there's and that's one thing I think for us too, because our industry, the complexity, I mean, the configuration, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered correctly. Think about this. There's some things like if an assembly isn't assembled correctly, there could be bodily harm or damage done to whatever it's being used. So I think we want to use it in a way that, hey, listen, if you don't want to spend time on site search, like let's at least give you the opportunity to answer some of the questions. But at the end of the day, to your point, I would love to get that person at any time in that conversation to the right person, because at the end of the day, this is just a bridge or another portal, so to speak, to
Yeah.
get them to our people. But I agree
It has
with
to
your
improve the
as well.
experience.
Exactly.
You give them so much content and so
Yep.
many attributes and so many things. At what point are you just trying not to help them? At some point they got to be able to get you. And usually it's, I've got this question, I want it done. And, if the answer is there, faster is better on everything, but accuracy will usually beat that.
As one of the things I like to add, and I really like what you just said, Jared, because one of the things that makes B2B so good is, I know a guy, and I'm going to go to Jared's company, and I'm going to talk to him, and he's going to tell me everything I need, and I'm going to walk away, and everything's going to be perfect, right? But also, we need to be prepared for the next generation of that, the younger generation, as they start coming into our industry. They grew up with a smartphone.
I always say my daughter is going to be my customer in 2 years.
So how do we address, that as the generations shift, we need to be prepared to address it. So I agree with what you said, but at the same time, you need to be thinking 5-10 years out and say, let's start building the tools, or at least keep my eye on that ball, because I'm gonna have to catch it one day, type thing.
Yeah, I always like to stay relevant, stay fresh, stay current, but maintain that small business, chip on my shoulder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for a fascinating discussion here today. I know our audience has benefited greatly from your insight and acumen here. Wanted to share a couple things that are coming up in future DSG programs. The first is on April 3rd at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. We're going to be looking at cybersecurity in the age of AI, and it's a best practices study. I can tell you there's some really amazing stuff happening related to cybersecurity in the age of AI. That's the positive. The flip side is there's some scary things that are threatening us. So be sure to tune in. That's sponsored by Epicor. And then on April 10th, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, we're looking at driving rapid growth and profits with technology, talent, training, and culture. Tim Brooks is CEO and co-owner of Low Miller & Company, actually a distributor here in Denver, and they have just such extraordinary efficiency that they've created in their business. If I were to tell you the revenue and the number of employees they have, you'd be shocked. So he's really created something extraordinary there. That is sponsored by White Cup. Come one, come all, and thank you again to our panel today. There are clearly some very exciting and powerful innovations that are available in the near future, but as well in the longer future related to e-commerce. So thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.